Welcome to the Recycle Podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts,
Dr. LaFonya Jones,
Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not going to be your stereotypical therapist.
What we will be is down to earth, informative, a little spicy, and vulnerable.
All right, interns, turn up the volume, grab your pen and paper. It's supervision time. As a reminder, this podcast is not meant to take the place of a relationship with a licensed mental health professional.
Welcome back to session 22, Movie Mental Breakdown, Soul Food, 1997.
These are my favorite. I love doing movie mental breakdown. Okay, so like Dr. Wall just said, we're doing Soul Food, which stars Vanessa Williams as Terry, Vivica Fox as Maxine, Nia Long as Bird, Jeffrey Sams as Kenny, Irma P. Hall as Big Mama, Michael Beach as Miles, Mekhi Phifer as Lim, Brandon Hammond as Ahmad, Gina Rivera as Faith, and Mel Jackson as Samuel. And then we also have Reverend Williams. So that's your list of characters. So
Characters they are.
yes, you guys will see in this session, we're going to have a whole bunch of throwbacks to probably the last two sessions, because they are definitely a build up to Soul Food for real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why we chose it.
Not just for the food.
I know.
Even though some of it did look really good.
Yes, at that wedding, I was like, oh, y'all got some real food. Okay.
I was thinking about the first Sunday dinner. I was like, look at that ham.
I wanted the cornbread.
Not Nia Long ones, though. That joint was burned.
No, not hers. I'm talking about Terry's
I know.
cornbread.
I'm like, how you burn cornbread?
Easily.
Girl.
These people can't boil water.
That's true.
Burn a pot up.
Yes. What's that smell?
I know. I forgot water's on the stove.
Mm-hmm. So in the opening scene, it starts with Ahmad kind of giving that traditional 90s movie narration at the beginning.
And I didn't even realize, well, I guess maybe when I first saw it the first time, I didn't even realize like there was a narration to this. I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot about him.
Mm-hmm, that he's like basically telling a story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so we starting off, the narration. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So he's talking about, the family and what family means and all those kinds of sweet things. And we enter into Bird and Lim's wedding reception, I guess.
Yeah.
That part, wedding reception. So, it's lots of goings on, dancing.
A hot mess.
Dancing, and everybody, just having a good old time. And then I can't remember the part where Reverend Williams came before, or that came before the dancing, right?
It had to have, because I don't think they would have segued back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So Reverend Williams is in line.
Pervert.
Getting his plate. And he proceeds to tell Big Mama, that Bird looking real fine. And he would like to sleep with her.
On Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. 2 times.
So if y'all can't tell, he plays the creepy uncle, creepy elderly person. Like he's in that role. And it don't get better.
No. Which really shocked me was like, you gonna say this to her mama? On her wedding day.
I'm sorry, this Joker would have been gone a long time ago. I'm just letting y'all know because
But see, this reminds me of when we were talking, I think an episode or two ago, or a session or two ago, about how parents used to let their children just go with, I guess, prominent people in the community and, just things like that. Very unhealthy.
Yes. I thought it was disgusting. And Mama didn't say nothing. She just kind of and just kept fixing plates and just moved right on. And I was like, and it was such an odd scene in the movie. I was like, who wrote this? and really thought that, like, I was like, maybe there was a deeper meaning behind this for things like we're doing right now. They just didn't, know it back then. But I was like, wow, that's really disturbing that you, as a clearly elderly gentleman, would speak about your counterpart, because Big Mama and him look to be in the same age range,
right?
That you would speak about her daughter. So if she knows you as well as it seems like she knows you, that means you've been seeing these girls grow up since they was little.
Yeah,
right.
He been eating Sunday dinner with them.
Yeah,
so for years.
So you just been eyeballing. Yeah,
I feel like if they were gonna put that in the movie, it would have made more sense for him to have been standing watching and talking to the guys.
Right.
It still wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have made it been any better, but it would have made more sense because her being who she is, I feel like she would have backhanded him somewhere.
Yeah, like it just was glossed over.
Right.
Like that's normal.
Why? Why would that be normal? But I guess for her era, maybe it was.
True. And we do have to keep it in context. But because when we go back and watch these older movies, I'm like, oh, these things just don't age well sometimes. And this is one of those scenes where you're like, that did not age well.
Right. And even though he wasn't, the creepy part of it is he's talking about adult women, but how long have you been looking at them?
Right.
Their whole life.
Right.
And it's still abuse. You know what I mean? Like it's under that umbrella. It's probably on the more excusable, approved part of the umbrella of sexual assault and abuse, but it's still under the umbrella.
Because that harassment was real on at the dinner table, especially when Faith came in. Sir, you touched her whole skin.
Knocked out.
Yeah. So then Ahmad continues on and talks about people having skeletons in the closet. And then insert Samuel, who is Bird's ex-boyfriend or some sort of something. And he proceeds to put some sort of like monetary gift in her sweetheart neckline. And...
Because they, the cool thing about this scene was that they were technically doing the spay dance that you don't really see in our culture like that, but you see it in the African culture.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, let me find out. They put a little nod in there.
They did. And on my DVD, there's when you do like the scene selection, it's a little ankh.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
So they did. So that probably was purposeful.
Oh, I like it.
Okay.
We doing that whenever I find me a man and get married. Bless me, Jesus.
Amen.
We touch and agree.
So skeletons in the closet. So here's Samuel, rubbing the whatever, however much money it was, because I didn't pay attention to that part, but just rubbing it all over her bosom and stuffing it in her sweetheart neckline. And basically it's like, if you need me, call me.
I was trying to figure out how, being the man that Liam was, how you ain't see this man filling your wife up? I guess
he
you
was preoccupied.
But still, how were you able to even get to what? How did that happen?
The better question is why she let it happen.
Oh yeah, no. I was gonna go to there next.
Because we'd have been in there boxing at my wedding, or my girls would have been in there boxing for me.
First of all,
yeah,
how you even get in the dough?
She probably invited him.
No, but she asked who invited him.
Oh, okay.
She did.
So
a little
he
bit
just
later.
came.
Because I said that to Dr. Jones the other day. I said, "Who did the invitations for this wedding?"
And how did y'all have the address to both of the exes?
Obviously, they are not a family of boundaries. Like that's obvious.
This before the days of cell phones.
Yes.
So this is not like you just texted them and said,
right.
"Hey, we gonna be at blah 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 blah."
Word of mouth. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So of course, since we talking about skeletons and exes, Lim's ex-girlfriend
with that little skimpy dress,
Anita,
girl.
That's what was in my head. Y'all can't say it on the show because
I'm trying to figure out how did you even think that was okay for this girl to be dancing on you like that at your wedding reception?
I don't know, but she was dancing. She was getting it.
She was.
But why was it okay for you to be? You can dance like that if you want to on the dance floor with somebody single.
Right. But, you know, sometimes people want other people to be jealous.
Yeah. I feel like that's what that was about.
Mm-hmm.
An eye for an eye.
Child, I promise.
It make you wonder how Lim and Bird got together.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Because only thing I see in 1997, I wasn't delivered from the spirit of slap.
You in the spirit of slap.
No, I was not delivered. So, hunty, trust. It wouldn't have been no jealousy. It wouldn't have been none, not at all. You would have just had to get
mad disrespectful. It was because her dress, she had on one of them not old, well, it is old school
bodycon for real,
like sequence,
you really could almost see everything.
And she had to keep pulling it down.
I was like, she had to keep pulling.
She had a leg up at one point. Talking about
she did
just out here twerking.
She did.
And the lights was not dimmed.
No,
it was not that time.
It was like that. It was like that gym lighting.
Yeah,
like
I was like, this is the beginning of the reception when all the ministers and the elderly people are still at your reception. This is not when they done went to bed.
Right.
Because I was like, man, this is the most attention-seeking behavior,
if at its finest.
Man,
she bent over and shook it.
Girl,
I said, okay.
All of that.
And he just,
he was just a grinding.
And
he was just
too.
enjoying it.
I wish y'all could see, but he was just a cheesing.
Yeah.
Y'all will see it when y'all go back and watch it. Y'all can be like, I see what they talking about. I didn't even remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So then the sisters go run off to go trying to find Bird, which I was like, why y'all didn't? First of all, I was like, I don't have sisters. Well, excuse me, I have one sister, but she is like really, really, she wouldn't even been thought about at this time. But if I had sisters that were old enough, why y'all didn't go over there? Why y'all running to come find me? Y'all need to be going to jump on him and be like, what the is wrong with you?
Because the sister that would have done it was pregnant.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Because she did say, let's go beat this whole down.
She said,
yeah,
we all happy, but we'll be more happy if we go beat that hoe down.
exactly.
Because I'm like, why y'all running to find me? Get on that fool. But they run to go find their sister and, you know, talk to her and see what's going on.
But why did she leave and come back? I wouldn't like
she wanted to get riled up with her sisters.
No, I would have already, when I saw it, I would have already been riled up. They would have had to come out the bathroom to get me. Like, no. I'm going over there. I ain't got to ask you who she is. I don't need to know who she is.
We can get this annulled right now.
Real quick, now. Bro.
Because we wouldn't have had no movie.
Yeah.
That end credits.
Exactly. That was it.
Fight ensued at the wedding and it was over. So I was like, woo. But of course, Big Mama comes in to save the day.
Rescuer.
Mm-hmm. And somehow she is able to convince Lim and this woman to stop dancing with each other so that she can do her little shimmy shake with Lim in the
circle.
Yeah. I was going to say Soul Train line, but I was like, no, that's not right. They weren't in a Soul Train. They were in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the anger just melted away.
But before that, she had told Ahmad to go and tell Bird, hey, you need to come on out here.
Go and get her and tell her to come and get her new husband
come get her new husband. But that is not what Ahmad said. He said,
Big Mama said,
come get your black.
Just one little excuse.
Yeah.
Like, look, I want to cuss a little bit.
So let me just tell him.
Because this is the energy she really had. She just gave me the nice kid version. This is what she really wanted to say.
Right. That was cute.
But like Dr. Jones said, Big Mama was being the rescuer, solved the problem, and I was so surprised, like how all that anger just melt away immediately. Because I still would have been fuming.
Right. Because first of all, where'd she go? Where did both of them go? Even the ex, what's his name?
Samuel.
Well, you know, he probably left right after that, though.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I was like, everybody now just laughing and smiling. I was like, I would have been still pissed. And I would have went right up. Mom, excuse me.
I need to talk to you. Bro,
right now.
You. Right now.
Not now.
Right now.
Right now. But, okay. But I said this is like the family dynamics are already starting, you know, at the beginning of the movie. And I'm like, we 5 minutes in. And they already showing, you know, all of their family roles and kind of all of the hijinks that will ensue, you know.
Oh
it's
yeah,
just his
because in the
fault.
bathroom, Terry and Max started talking about the money. Terry's money.
Mm-hmm.
Why you always gotta let people know you paid for something?
Mm-hmm.
That's her worth, her value.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not gonna say her role, but that's what she is.
Yes, we'll get to that. So then, one of the things that I was thinking, because then they did some sort of montage after that about. So one of the things that I was wondering was, in the beginning, had all of this stuff with Big Mama not happened, did Lim really stand a chance in this family?
I feel like he would have, because the person who had an issue with him was actually Terry. Everybody else was cool with Lim. They still had questions and stuff, but everybody else was cool. It's Terry, because she turned her nose down, or looked down her nose rather, at everybody.
What makes you think Terry had I mean, I know, I heard what you just said, but what makes you think she had a problem with him though? Because she paid for the wedding. I mean, I know that. I mean,
Well,
I know
that's her
it's
baby
be for
sister, though.
Bird,
Yeah.
more so. But
She talked about how he wasn't worth nothing. She talked about the fact that, where'd you find him? Like she brought up his past all the time and didn't really know anything about his past other than he had went to prison. That's all she knew. And that's why later on in the movie she jumped to conclusions about what had actually gone on instead of really figuring it out.
Yeah,
she just be doing too much.
which was one of the reasons I wondered why, if he would have really stood a chance in the family had all of this stuff not happened, because of the weight that Terry holds in the family.
But I feel
I
like
think
the strong one is still Maxine.
Maxine.
And so she really is, well, I'm gonna go on and say it. Terry acted as if she was the power broker in the family.
Yep.
And yes, she was great. She had a lot going for her, so I'm not knocking her for that. But the fact was, the glue in their generation is Maxine.
True.
It is not her. And
and that's what she didn't like.
she didn't like it, for some other reasons that's about to come up as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like Maxine is going to eventually become Big Mama years down the line.
I can
And
see
she welcomed him open arms. She still like, get your life, but she still welcomed him.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then there's an explanation about, Sunday dinner and soul food and kind of what that means. Basically the short abridged version of that is cooking from the soul, cooking with heart and love. And Sunday dinners were used as a way to keep the family connected, and they were often teaching moments for the current and the younger generation, about customs, about tradition, things like that. So he did a nice little explanation on that.
Yeah.
Something that I also thought was very interesting was them talking about the grandfather and how he was owned a corner store, a laundromat,
and a barbershop.
I
said, okay, entrepreneurs.
And I thought,
And also a gambler.
so yes, what I thought was interesting at first, I was like, man, that really showed the power of ownership and how you could potentially really set your children up for generational wealth. However, if you are not taught how to manage finances, or you have, addictive tendencies,
Which is definitely what he had.
right, then that ownership really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. It just give you money to go do what you do.
Right.
Well, and if you think about it, they never really fully made it, air quotes, because Big Mama still had to keep her job as a maid. She never could graduate to a different type of job or not work at all, or whatever would have worked for them because of his gambling problem.
Because she didn't even work at any of the companies that he owned.
No. Did not.
Another, and I think this came a little right before the Sunday dinner. I loved while they were cooking. I loved the little newlywed moment when Lim came to the door. I'm like, psst. It's like, okay, you better go get your life, boy.
Yes. I was like, that's so cute.
That was really cute.
Fish dinner. Oh no, fish. That's where that came from. So then there's another scene where they're kind of playing cards at the table and kind of talking about a bunch of different things. And Terry ends up being pretty resentful towards everybody about and pretty critical of her sister's choice in spouse. And is sticking her nose in everybody else's business instead of minding her own. And she continues to do her typical thing, like throwing up in front of everybody's face that she went to college and she got a good job and she's making all this money and she paid for this and, you know, you didn't pay me back for whatever. But what I appreciated was Big Mama was like, no, worry about your own life.
You on husband number two.
Get your life.
And the other part that I didn't care for was the fact that Max was counting her money. Like she was like, "You're not hurting for that money. That's not the point.
Right.
It's the principle behind the fact that I let whoever, I guess Bird, borrow the money."
Yeah. And I can see how she would become resentful, especially, and we don't know all of this, so some of this is speculation, but if she has a history of giving them money as a loan and they don't pay it back.
Because they don't think she needs it. That's the one thing that I like. That's the one thing I can't stand that people do. Don't count my pocket. Like, you don't know, I may not need it. But because you said you're going to give it back to me, I'm expecting for you to give it back. If you need me to give it to you, then say that.
Right.
But also you need to get some boundaries.
Exactly.
Because at some point, you can't keep blaming the family for not paying you back when you keep giving them the money.
That too.
You the one with. They the ones without. At some point, there has to be some consequences and repercussions for them not doing what they need to do.
Other than you just having an attitude and being resentful.
But it also can internally give her a sense of leverage over them as well.
Because that's what it seemed like she was doing at that point.
Even though wasn't nobody here.
Right.
Whatever.
But you know what we justify in our own head sometimes is enough.
Yeah.
So then during this talk, Big Mama at some point holds her arm over the flame and burns her arm, and this is where we learn that she has diabetes
and is not taking care of it.
Yes. And likely probably has some sort of nerve damage, circulation issues, and they take her to the doctor. Well, first she talks about a home remedy, and what kind of struck me about this was, you know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to use natural medicines and natural healing, but for some things there is a place for Western medicine if you're not going to take care of yourself fully.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to change your diet, if you're not going to start working out, you know, if you want to continue to eat and live the same way, then your default is going to be relying upon Western medicine.
Because you definitely, if you're going to use herbs and herbal medicines and things like that to cure whatever diagnosis you may have, you definitely have to change your lifestyle.
And I think another part of that is, y'all, we're not living in older times. We're not living in compounds or in tribes and things of that nature anymore. Like, we're not going to the shaman. Like, we're not following through with what they say do. She didn't go put a post, you know, on her own. You know what I'm saying? So if you really gonna be about that life, be about that life.
Right.
Don't pick and choose the parts of being natural and herbal and following those protocols if you're not gonna, you know, do what you need to do.
That's right.
Now you can do both, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I did when I was diagnosed with cancer. I did both. But I'm gonna need you to go get that together.
Right.
Yeah.
You ain't feeling limbs. You passed some other things.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, you're past the point of herbs.
Right. And if you do, you need to go to back then, I don't think this existed then, but a naturopathic doctor.
They were there. I don't think they were popular, widely used, of course.
Yeah.
And this is kind of also a attribute to kind of what we've talked, not us, but just kind of as people in the Black community about soul food being good to the soul, but it's not good to the body.
No. And they kind of talked about that a little bit from the perspective of turning something that was given to us into something great, and making it taste good and things of that nature, which, hey, we have done a bang up job. But I feel like at some point you have to realize that that's like a special occasion thing or whatever. Because Lord knows I like my 4 cheese mac and cheese,
Boy.
but we can't eat that all the time.
No,
Not every day.
Not every day.
No.
Because Dr. Strickland and I just found out how much. Well, not that we just found out, but just realized how many calories is in an omelet with cheese.
Yeah.
How much of a difference it is.
You'd be like, that took 300 calories off that omelet just removing the cheese?
Yes. Y'all think when we had the potluck and I brought that mac and cheese and we was in here just eating it. That was probably that one spoonful was probably a good 16 to 2,000 calories. And I sure ate it, but that's not the
Now
point.
tell the truth. Tell the truth. We got 2 spoonfuls.
I only got one though, because I was trying to eat other stuff. But yes.
But yeah, it's good to you. Look, there's such thing as having food that is psychologically satisfying.
Yes.
But that does not mean it is biologically satisfying.
And that's so unfortunate.
And that's why y'all get the itis. That is your body telling you time to shut down. It's too much. It's overload.
And the other thing I was thinking about in this scene when she didn't want to go to the doctor was the lack of trust in medical professionals.
And that has not changed.
That's not changed. And I can understand why she would not want to go to a Western doctor.
Yeah. I mean, we dying at an alarming rate when we go to the doctor as Black women. We die at a higher rate than most people. So, I mean, I get the fear.
Yeah.
I get that. You know, most of my providers are Black women or women. You know, it just kind of depends on what the nature of what I'm going for. But I'm like, nah, you got to look like me in some type of way. And your bedside manner got to be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of practitioners get away with a lot of stuff.
Oh, but they do.
Because people are afraid to call out their practitioners for some strange reason.
Or even just ask questions.
And just so everybody know, all our interns, you hired the doctor, you can fire the doctor.
You can.
So if there is at any point you feel like, okay, this doctor don't understand what I'm saying, or they're not meeting my needs within reason, don't be out here acting a fool.
Or they not listening to me.
Or they're not listening, or they won't give you something that you actually need. You can, one, tell them, can you please make sure you document that in my chart? And they probably gonna give you what you need. Or 2, you can immediately fire them and find somebody else.
Absolutely.
That includes us.
And one of the things, yes,
I tell my clients that all. Hey,
me too.
Question me. That's part of my job to answer your questions.
And I tell my clients, it's, you know, my goal is for them to eventually fire me, because I want you to get so far along where you only need me for maintenance.
Yep. I agree. So then they go start eating the delicious food after they wrap up Big Mama's arm. And
did you say something about that prayer?
No, not yet. Not yet. Yeah. Reverend Williams, again, being
Inappropriate.
highly inappropriate.
Yeah, they had
It's
fried
cringeworthy.
chicken. They had fried chicken that day, and he was like, "Thank you for the breasts, and thank you for the thighs, and then thank you for the legs under.
this
I
table.
mean, under over the table." Like, I was like, dude, what you not gonna do is put the Lord
in
with
your foolishness,
yo creepy,
cringe,
raper like ways.
And I was like, didn't nobody say nobody?
They just looked at him. They
Yeah,
just opened their eye.
yeah,
and
the
looked
girls
at him.
looked at him and was like,
I'm like, did nobody say like, sir, you need to get up and leave, please?
At minimum, he would open his eyes and there wouldn't have been no plate there.
like, because he was comfortable saying it.
Because you could tell he's like this all over. And that
Yeah.
leads me to, and we may need to talk about this in a future podcast. I mean, a future session. People in the church doing stuff to people, trying to edit
and
that.
ignoring it.
Yeah.
Yes.
because it was over the top. Like it's like you trying to be funny, but it's not funny.
Like you blatantly said stuff. Like, I mean, just like you just knew when nobody getting ready to say nothing to you, what your face was still gonna be on your face when you got through saying it. Like you, I mean,
and the men didn't say nothing either.
Nobody checked him.
They talking about y'all wives.
But I did pay attention to the seating arrangement. So I was like,
he was by himself.
Yeah, he's always over there
at the end. And one time, Lim was sitting here, and I think Ahmad was sitting on the other side of him. So none of the girls sat beside him.
Yeah.
But still, I was wondering that. I was like, are any of them sitting beside him? And then I paid attention.
Yeah, just too much. Also at the table, man, you can really see the sibling rivalry between Maxine and Terry.
Mm-hmm. Well, we understand why.
And of course, as per usual, Terry is throwing out her financial success over everybody. But this is where they do the cutaway for why
they have the argument, and then Ahmad comes in with why they've been like this.
So apparently, Maxine's husband, Kenny, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Maxine's husband, Kenny, used to date Terry back in the 80s.
Now, mind you, this is date. Real date, not like
we talking.
You know.
Which is kind of how people describe it today. So they were dating and they went to the roller rink, but Big Mama always made the girls take one of their sisters on dates, I guess for protection purposes. So Maxine is out there being
just
extra. Being a little extra.
Being a little sister.
And she falls hard.
Yeah.
She did.
She did. And talking smack. This is what you got to do. This is how you got to do it.
I wonder if she fell for real. Because, sometimes they'll keep scenes like that. Like, ooh, that was good.
We're going to keep it.
So she falls and Kenny immediately runs to her rescue. And they do the white like God is shining down on you on top of them.
Gazing into each other's eyes.
Yes, they did the real 1980s So they fell in love. Basically, the way they're making it sound like they fell in love immediately. So then Terry falls, and he didn't even acknowledge her from that moment forward.
I wish we knew how long they had been dating. If that was actually a first date, because either way, it don't matter. But if that was a first date, or if they had been dating for a
little while,
yeah,
I know. We do need some more info on that.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Because it's devious either way, but it's more devious if she had been dating him.
Because I'm just reading body language. I'm just gonna be honest, but it seems like they weren't super close, him and Terry, by the way that they were standing next to each other while they was looking at her skating. Yeah. You know what I mean? There still should have been some communication going on after that day from both of them, but we can't tell.
Yeah. So then Terry's walking home. From school, I'm assuming. I don't know where she's walking home from. And she sees Kenny's car on the side of the road, and the windows are fogged up, which I didn't think really was a problem because she had a coat on. So I was like, well, it's wintertime. So that sometimes that happens when in cars, if you're sitting in a car and, it starts to heat up. But
it was heated up.
Yep. They had that Titanic moment where, they put the hand on the glass. So she going and she, about to bust the windows out the car, like knocking hard.
I bust the windows out your car.
Yes. And Maxine rolls the window down.
Not thinking at all.
And sees her sister. And of course, Terry jump all over her because it's like, what you do? Like, hold on, what you doing?
No. Right. But Kenny's face was all up in the boobage. He didn't even know somebody was knocking on the glass.
Right.
Yeah, he was gone.
Yeah, he was out of there.
So then she proceeds to drag Maxine out the car.
Did y'all see how tight her pants was that she couldn't even get
which
up?
person?
Maxine.
They both was looking like they was.
Her jeans was so tight. She had to get up. Y'all can't even. She had to get up off the ground like she was pregnant.
She had on them sister pants.
She did.
But she wasn't sister size.
Right.
Man, she drug her like headlock and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kenny over there
laughing.
Get off of her, but laughing at the same time. But I was like, I wouldn't have gotten in the middle of that either.
I wouldn't have either.
Because at this point, sir, it ain't even about you.
Right. This my sister.
Yeah, this not some girl off the street. Like, this my sister.
Right.
Yeah. And they should have came and had a conversation. She still would not have liked it. But
right.
You could have at least talked to her about it.
And left her with some dignity.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of just, like, before y'all even had that car scene type of situation, it should have been a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that stuff right there, that's enough to completely ruin a family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it caused tension between them. They seemed like they already had tension anyway, but this caused additional tension between them. But that is literally something that can, estrange people from each other.
Which is why I understood why Terry and Maxine didn't get along.
Mm-hmm. Sibling rivalry.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Because it just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
Yeah, because not only did you, start dating him and sleeping with him behind my back, so y'all both out here lying to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go and marry him.
Yeah.
And get pregnant
3 times.
Yeah.
And y'all been,
and she don't have none of that.
None. And y'all got a happy marriage for 11 years.
Y'all
I know we got to get to
love
that.
each other. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Now their relationship is bomb, so they really were supposed to be together.
Yeah. But have the conversation with your sister.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, as far as we know it, maybe Terry may not have even gotten to the point where she started liking him yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Knowing her, she probably hadn't, but it was more so, this is my possession.
Exactly.
And you took it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, none of us have ownership over anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so if things like that happen, you do need to be vocal about it, and you need to let the people that you care about know what's happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then insert one of the most awkward conversational transitions ever, where Kenny then asks Lim,
he's special. Kenny is special.
basically like, why you go to jail, man?
What was you locked up for?
And it's like, sir, we were not even talking about that. Like, okay.
Right. This is not dinner table conversation.
At all.
And then, of course, Lim tries to explain, what happened. And, it was basically I was trying to help family out and got myself caught up kind of situation. Mm-hmm. Not that he was really the one out here running drugs or anything like that. But, sometimes family can be the toughest and hardest part of your circle.
Mm-hmm. They get you caught up.
Mm-hmm. And then this is where we also learned that their father was a gambler and that he wasn't good with money, because Bird was definitely going to protect her man.
Mm-hmm.
As she should.
Because you're not going to be talking about me. And Daddy was out here with his own skeletons and demons.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated that.
Yeah, but Big Mama seemed like she was like, yeah, I don't mind telling y'all that.
Yeah, because I don't think she ever kept anything from her girls.
Right.
But this does kind of foreshadow how Bird is going to be with her husband, not allowing him to fight his own battles. Just support, but you can't fight him.
Yes.
Yeah, I did write that down in my notes. Was that Big Mama was talking about essentially the strong black woman trope.
Too. You took them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tropes in this movie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The strong black woman one is floating around like strong in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Angry. Some other Jezebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a lot of those in there.
Yeah, it's a lot of examples of trope tripping 1 and trope tripping 2.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm. And then insert Cousin Faith.
This helpful.
Yeah, the black sheep.
Yes.
Scapegoat and black. Well, it's a few scapegoats, but yes.
She was one of them. And I was, when I was writing my notes, I was like, man, we just talked about this in the Family Secrets session about forcing children to hug and or kiss people.
Yep.
Because while you don't see it, but you hear Big Mama in the back say, kiss your cousin.
And I didn't even hear that.
And that ain't the cousin you need to be kissing.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's like it's definitely like it sounds like a background because the scene is not on Big Mama, it's on Faith.
Okay.
And Ahmad, and you hear say, kiss your cousin, and I was like, oh Lord, we literally just talked about not forcing children to, and then it made me think about Reverend Williams. Like forcing kids to do things that they may be uncomfortable doing. And how you know Ahmad he probably don't even know who this woman is.
No, I
think Ahmad did, but not the daughter right underneath.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because he was talking about her.
Faith, yeah.
He's talking about something. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they could see that trouble coming a mile away.
And I think what's important to note is that you can teach your kids how to have appropriate greetings that you give people when they come in the house or when you enter the home. But when it comes to their body, you need to give them freedom
To say no.
Yeah.
Or
I don't want to be hugged right now.
Exactly.
It's not always about y'all.
Right.
It's about, okay, maybe they don't feel good.
Yeah.
So then, not too long after this scene, Maxine goes into labor, and they do the Hollywood, going into labor scene.
It's time.
I don't know about all that. But
that's what
she was
said.
like, I think it's time. But she should be calm.
Because she had two. Yeah. This is her third one. Yeah.
But you know how Hollywood do, like, it's got to be a big old hoopla. Like, oh
everybody
my God,
done lost their mind.
Yeah.
And here go Terry with her fix. What's the doctor's number? What's the doctor's name?
I know. I was like, man, she is so business.
Ooh, I want to give her a hug and tell her you can take it off sometime.
Relax.
Right.
Just go breathe. You need something from Colorado or something.
Or something that's legal in Nevada.
Yes.
So, yeah, I was like, she is always on. Always.
Before we move on to the hospital, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was Faith is the black sheep and scapegoat, but like y'all just not gonna talk about it. Like y'all just gonna keep just pushing her out and not wanting to see her. Like, oh my God, here she is. Well, then deal with it.
Yeah.
So that oh my God, there she is thing can go away.
I think that is something that happens in black families, because I'm black. Black families a lot is stuff happening, nobody healing from it, and we just keep the cycle going. It's never any like accountability and boundaries and this is what we're gonna do. It's just like a loop, and it keeps going.
Well, and the thing is, it seemed like whatever was being done to Big Mama, and she don't seem to have had a problem with it.
We know Big Mama ain't got no boundaries.
Yeah, we do. But the thing is, see, one of the things that I try to teach my family members when we have family sessions is you have to have a relationship with the person, your own relationship with that person, not a relationship based on somebody else's relationship. So if Big Mama is okay with it, even if it is poor boundaries, then why am I mad about it?
Yeah, the only person you can come talk to about that is Big Mama.
Exactly.
You can't get mad at Cousin Faith because you can do whatever you want to do with your emotions, but you can't go say something extra to Cousin Faith when the problem is that Big Mama is still allowing it to happen. So have a conversation with Big Mama.
Exactly.
Bring it up, and then she can decide what she want to do.
True. There you go.
True. So then they have, everybody's excited about the baby. And then the next scene is them at the hospital with Big Mama. And I thought when I originally saw this movie that it was going to be about her arm. But we then learn that she's got poor circulation in her legs, which is probably even more common with individuals with diabetes or that have had diabetes for quite some time, that have not been taking care of themselves. and it has now led to her needing to have her leg amputated, one of her legs amputated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I know has happened to people in my family. I imagine it has happened to people in a lot of individuals with diabetes families, whether it was toes or all the way up to the leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking when I was watching the scene, I was like, man, I cannot imagine having to make a choice like that.
So I could definitely understand why she was like, nobody's cutting my leg off. Like, like to go, I mean, obviously it's like going from being able to see and then going blind, like Ray Charles.
Yeah.
You know, like that's devastating.
Yeah. Because the only reason why she did it was because of Ahmad. Because of her grandchildren, should I say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have lived literally your entire life no other way. You've had both of your legs in working condition your entire life. And you're an elderly person. So this is not like you're 4, so you've only lived a few years and learned how to use these limbs. You have relied on these limbs literally for she looked to be like she may have been in her 60s or late 60s. You've lived that long with your limbs like that, and now for one to be gone, the adjustment, had Big Mama, as we will know, she will pass, but had she recovered, just thinking about the psychological effect that's going to take on somebody, that when you look down, like that part of your body's just not there anymore. Phantom limb syndrome.
Yeah. And even, especially because she had that idea of the strong black woman.
Yes.
Her position was threatened. It would have been threatened, should I say.
Yeah. She would have been reliant upon her children.
Yeah. And I watched my grandfather battle through that when he was diagnosed with his last bout of cancer that eventually, took his life. It was a struggle. And I can imagine it was hard for him, like his granddaughter being the one that's in there, like helping him eat or taking him to the bathroom. And so, that dignity, that pride, that also that sense of, okay, I probably have less years left than what I've lived. So I definitely, that was a hard scene for me personally.
And then they get that idea of not wanting to be a burden on anyone.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It challenges your idea of mortality and quality of life. What's my quality going to be? My last, like you said, it makes me realize, oh man, I have less years on this planet than more.
Yeah. And it, we don't talk about this much, but to me, it also brought out ableism, how we only celebrate bodies that are perfect, and the norm is that you have to have all limbs, all toes, all fingers, this and that, and that's the only healthy quality of life. But in reality, there are so many people who are quadriplegic, paraplegic, blind, can't hear, and they have great quality of life. Is it different? Is it an adjustment? Are there things that the family and loved ones have to learn, and they have to learn? Of course. But there's more than one way to show up in the world.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for them, it becomes normal. It may be abnormal for us because we have our limbs, our ability to hear and see and things like that, but it becomes normal for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was hard. Sorry,
You
guys.
know, and I wanted to say one thing that kind of makes me happy. This is a side note, but also off topic, is when I see the Rihanna fashion show. And she has all those different body types in there. And she
nice.
always has a paraplegic in her show walking. Because you better be out here.
Celebrating everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, because everybody wants to know what they can be represented, and everybody wants to be like, okay, so this is what realistically how these things will look on me. So I did appreciate that too. I love her inclusivity.
Yeah.
So then the next scene is them going to Bird's beauty shop, and
her ex is a stalker.
yes,
Creepy.
again, guys, remember this is before the days of cell phones.
Yes.
So how did he even know that her salon was open?
Well, he knew that.
No, I thought he knew that she was trying, because he said, Terry finally gave you the money to get it open.
But I'm pretty sure he knew, because he seems to keep his finger on where she's at all time and the hours. Now you could have called the shop and asked, what are the hours?
No, I was just like, oh, he's such a big creep in this movie.
He's like the young version of the pastor.
He is. So then he comes in with, flashing all his dollar bills, y'all, and gives Bird this, I don't know if it was a tennis bracelet. I couldn't quite tell what it was. It was a bracelet.
It just looked like
bracelet.
a bangle or something like that, because it didn't have a clip on it, because she was able to just take it off and throw it. Now, granted, she could have ripped it, but it looked like a wraparound bangle or something.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell what it was. But they insinuate in the movie that this thing is expensive.
Because he said he made how much money?
$80,000.
Now we look at that now and it's like,
that's
not a lot of money.
I mean, that's a lot, but it's not a lot.
Right.
But
in 97 it was.
Yeah. Now he was banking in
he was
1997.
almost 6 figures.
Okay.
That was good back then. And I did not like the way Bird was looking at him.
I did not either.
So you better look, Glim. That's who you chose.
I know.
Because she was giving him baby dick.
Boy, if I wasn't married, and almost, because I am married, you can still get it.
Yeah, she was giving him them eyes, all that body language. I said, see, this is why if y'all ever have trauma, read the book, The Body Keeps a Score. But I was thinking the body don't lie. The mouth can lie, the tone can lie, but the body, it's hard to hide that face, and it's hard to hide your body language.
But see, that's why he kept coming around too. So although we feel like he was stalkerish and creepy, she gave him a reason to keep coming around.
Because she didn't set them boundaries.
She sure didn't.
Because I was wondering, he told her, it's a wedding gift, but I was like, nah, what really is this gift?
Right, because you could have left it on the table at the wedding.
I feel like it was a wedding gift for him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's him. But I feel like it was another way for him to continue to kind of latch on. I think if other circumstances hadn't happened, that we're going to talk about it later, I think eventually she would have ended up having an affair with this man. Because he was slowly
grooming.
Yep.
You can trust me. You can do this. I got your back. I almost said something. Racial slur. If you don't get your cell phone somewhere.
Brown person.
Well, we can't even say he brown.
Because the thing is, I know, right?
Charlemagne the God says khaki colored.
Beige. like my friend that I got a crush on, say Christian Keys.
You do love him. I hope he listens one day.
Beige don't age. That's what he always say.
I'm gonna start using that. Because boy, Derek be getting on me. Well, I mean, I know black don't crack, but like
beige don't age.
Your black is gonna crack, and I'm like, ain't that bottom?
It's not. It's not, because we beige.
I'm gonna start using that.
Thank you, Christian Keys.
The
other thing that I did not like about Bird in this scene is that she was allowing him to throw mad shade at Lim.
Yes.
Like, no, what? You don't know what my husband can afford, sir.
But that also goes back to all that body language.
And how you know?
because you didn't have no problem standing up to your family.
Right.
But this man obviously has something that you have wanted at one point in time.
And it couldn't have been too long ago because both of them was inappropriate with their exes.
Right.
Yeah, so was this like a shotgun wedding? Not because she was pregnant, but like they just, you know how some
Quick.
people get, they meet and in 3 months or 6 months they've already.
It probably was because they
Yeah,
didn't have a
because
lot
Liam
of
done threw that
information.
game on her. Liam threw that game on her. That
bad
thug
boy.
life. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me find out.
Okay. So did they go to Maxine's house? And I was like, I love to see that them two still got that flame for each other after all that time.
I was like,
Yes.
that's what I want right there. I know they done had struggles, but I mean that energy where y'all are giving to each other and neither of you are ashamed to be open and be goofy and do random stupid stuff.
That
I love
married
it.
time. I love that little married time.
So you
I
better
know, I was
not
like-
dance good.
Okay. And
I know.
offbeat.
Girl, I thought it was me. I was like, what is going on with my eyes?
He was like,
No, Kenny was completely offbeat.
I said, they must have been playing a different song in the movie because I don't know
No.
what.
He really played the song that he played.
I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I'm about to eat all that up. But I was like, I love this. I love the energy that, he's given her. I love the energy she's returning back to him. So I
Yes.
agree, with what you said, Dr. Wall, a little bit earlier that, they really were each other's person.
Yeah. And I love that this movie showed some of the stuff that is necessary for women after we give birth and we don't feel good. Our body don't feel good. We don't feel good about ourselves. We're in that in between where you kind of by yourself and you essentially are alone. Even though you got a support group, you feel alone when you transition, no matter how many babies is added on to it. And so I like that he was, still making time to make her feel good. She received
And attractive.
attractive. And also the fact that she was like, oh, my baby, like my big baby. So I like that energy. I like to see them feeding off of each other.
Yeah. That was a really good scene. Black love.
Yes. Because I'm like, that's sexy black love right there.
I said, where is my Boaz?
So then here comes Liam interrupting the, let's get it on. And for good reason. I understood why. So he comes to their house to tell Kenny that he has lost his job because
I like that Kenny knew how to ask his wife to leave without asking her to leave. Like he whispered sweet nothings in her ear.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
That was cute because she was standing there like waiting on it too. Like, you gonna ask me to leave? Because she was giving him this,
Yeah, like
the little smirk. Like, I'm waiting.
I mean, she gonna know anyway because
Yeah.
they got that type of relationship.
Yeah, I did like that. I thought that was cute too. Because she was like, "That's how we got this one right here."
like she started that's how I was like, he done said some sweet nothings because you done start giggling.
So then Kenny and Lim start talking, and he tells Kenny that he's lost his job because he did not put that he had been convicted of a felony on his application. And I'm assuming that when they did the background check, they found that he had been to prison. So I had a whole lot of thoughts about this scene. There were several things that, kind of hurt my heart about it. And then there were several things that I appreciated about it. And I was like, the thing that hurt my heart was this is the hard part for felons. That we say, you pay your debt to society and you can get out and, if you do right, you will succeed. But people that have felonies often are not given opportunities to, be able to reform themselves. There are some people that are just destined to live a life of crime. That's just who they are. That's just the way they have decided to live their life. But there are some people that when they get out, they really want to do different. They want to do better. They do not want to return back to that lifestyle. But then the way our system is set up and what we have kind of created our society to believe about felons. They just don't have any real opportunities to make a decent living.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think a lot of people look at felons as if they are sociopaths and psychopaths, and I'm like, you do realize there's not a lot of them in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the thing is, like, I think just because a person has been incarcerated, it doesn't mean that they have no skills. It doesn't mean that they don't want to, like you were saying earlier, Dr. Strickland, it doesn't mean that they don't want to live a life of freedom. Because a lot of times, especially when it's drug dealers who end up kind of doing that because that's just their circumstance at that moment, they don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you really in that lifestyle, you've run can be sometimes $1 million industry, you know, but to do that honestly is very difficult.
Yeah.
You have a lot more rules, and let's just be honest, we are not running a lot of stuff yet. And so we have to go and deal with gatekeepers that don't necessarily look like us and are not trying to allow us entry.
Right.
And so there are a lot of things that end up going on that people who are in these situations have to combat. And then sometimes they're like, I'm done. I'm just going to go back to what was easy. I can make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a couple of weeks and be done.
But that's what I don't be understanding is why people don't want to hire them anyway. If they went to jail or prison for a drug charge, what they got to do with your business? That don't mean they get ready to steal nothing from you.
Right. Now, if you work in pharmaceuticals,
It's a little different.
right. But he was trying to get a job in a printing company
As a machinist.
And he
Right.
can't steal nothing out of there. Them machines are way too big.
Yeah,
But
they
that's
bolted down to the concrete like
Right. Like there's nothing in there that's going to make him like go back to jail.
Yeah.
and this is what forces, some felons to lie. You know, like
It's
Dr. Wall
common.
was saying, you're either going to have to lie on your application because you're not going to get the opportunity because of what people believe about felons. You're either going to have to tell the truth and be, always having to take a low paying job. So then you're going to have to work 5-6 jobs just to be able to make any sort of type of decent living. Or you're going to have to return back to what you were doing because that's going to give you what you need.
And a lot of, I don't want to say a lot. Well, maybe now a lot of them, they come out and they start their own business.
Yeah.
A lawn company, painting.
Something. But luckily, I will say that there are more companies, and I mean big name companies, who do have a program for people who have felonies, and then they are able to, start at the bottom. Now, I will say there are some individuals who don't want to start at the bottom. They feel like something is owed to them, but that's not the majority at all. But luckily, we are starting to see more and more programs that can help. But back then in 1997, well, no programs.
Yeah, rehabilitation programs are bigger now. Yeah.
I did appreciate that Lim attempted to use his resources first.
Yes.
I loved that. I wrote that
The
in my
whole
notes.
time.
I thought it was courageous of him to go to another man and express his concern and his problem.
Yeah. Look at that. We remember when we talked about Boomerang and the three of them had that, good. Sometimes it was not good. But for the most part, they had emotional intelligence with each other. Now, they may not have had it outside of their circle.
But they had it with
had it with each other. And I thought that showed emotional intelligence on Lim and Kenny's part to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, like you said, Dr. Jones, you understood there's a problem.
Yep.
I want to be able to solve this problem. And I know I need help in solving this problem. And who can I trust? So the family, at least someone he felt like he could, go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like both of them had pretty good emotional intelligence throughout this movie. Now we got one of the men that did not have good emotional intelligence, but I feel like Lim definitely did a great job of battling past demons as well as, trying to, just be the best man he could be. He has some pride, but it wasn't like the overwhelming theme for him.
Right.
I think I think it was because a lot of men do have pride, especially when it comes to not being able to provide.
And he got a bougie woman,
right? Walking around with Chanel sandals or whatever.
I know.
Said.
I was like, who's out here walking
got
around
no
in Chanel?
And you live with your mama.
They do.
and you borrow money from your sister for this.
Exactly. Now,
Well, probably old dude. Probably.
that's what I was just I was just gonna say that he probably bought them.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And then one thing I was thinking when they were describing, like why Lim should not tell Bird that he lost his job, I was like, do Black women really see men this way if they are not working? But if they're not working, but they are doing other things. So it's one thing if you're not working and you literally just at home, like doing nothing. But if you're not working and you are actually at home, you are cooking, you're taking on what traditional housewife duties would be considered. Would Black women see that man as lazy?
I think it depends on her maturity.
And see, I thought the same thing, but I thought, do Black women see men like that if they're actively looking? So it's one thing to be laid off or fired and you're just sitting around the house just doing nothing. But if you're actively looking for a job, and I know that you're actively looking, then would that response be or reaction be different?
I think you got to know what you signed up for. You chose to in this situation, you chose to marry someone who is a felon, and so it is going to be a harder life for him. You can't be stepping in doing stuff you ain't supposed to do unless y'all have talked about it previously, and you have to let him find his way. Maybe eventually it would have got to a place where he started his own situation. Now, he wasn't gonna start no machinist job because that requires a lot more money that they would have had to get from Terry.
Right.
And I don't think she was giving no more money to that particular set of the family. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was cute kind of how they did it between each other. So I did like that, but it really just kind of got me thinking like, man, do Black women really see Black men that way? Or do women just see men that way?
I was getting ready to say, I wonder if it's women, but obviously they had only had experiences, I'm assuming, with Black women, so they can only speak on Black women.
Yeah. So then the next scene is at Terry's house, and Ahmad is there, and they're having, it's Ahmad and Miles, Terry's husband. He's finishing up cooking dinner. Terry gets home, and they get ready to sit down and have dinner, and Ahmad asks her about Big Mama, if she's going to be okay. The thing that I appreciated in Terry is that she was honest with him. And she said she didn't know, versus what some people will do is they will make promises that they know there's literally no way for you to keep that promise.
Right. And there's no way for you to be able to certainly say, oh, she's going to be fine. Don't brush your mouth like that.
Yeah. So I appreciated, they kind of treated him like a little adult in this movie.
They did.
well, he the oldest, back then.
But I did like that she was honest with him. So then the door rings, and Terry and Miles end up having a little back and forth. And he wants to do music
Full time.
I had mixed feelings about this scene.
I was upset.
Because I understand, I understood his desire to want to pursue music, but my thing was that's a major decision for your household. And for you can't make a decision like that on your own because it affects your spouse.
I don't think she gave him an opportunity to make it with her because
That's
she
true,
never participated in, his sets that he would have, and
She didn't support him
at
No,
all. And
she
so
didn't.
I kind of feel like even if he would have quit that day, he had $142,000 in the bank. So he had a year's worth of salary for him in the bank. So they could have got a timeline together. They could have done a lot of stuff. But when you end up in those type of homes where y'all live in two separate lives that are not mingled together correctly, y'all just gonna start living completely apart.
Married single people. Yeah, I was like, oh.
But then my other issue with Miles was you didn't talk to your. Now, granted, maybe she didn't allow the opportunity, but you didn't talk to your wife about the $5,000 either.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said I had so many mixed feelings about that, because I was like, well, like he said, well, it's my money. Like I put that money in there, but I was like, I get that,
but it's in a
line
joint
of
account.
thinking, and then it's in a joint account,
and you're in a marriage.
Yeah,
and
so
you're married.
So I'm assuming now. I don't know if this is how all marriages work, but I'm assuming if you're going to spend over a certain dollar amount, that's a discussion.
Yeah, like, so I watched a show called Married at First Sight, and
I did too.
Yes, and so this past season they were in New Orleans, and they had 2 black couples, and the black couple, Amani and Woodrow, they had a conversation because he's the spender of their unit, and she was like, okay, over this price we gotta talk.
Yeah,
don't just be out here because we together now.
Right.
So I totally get that. When you a unit, you gotta do stuff a little bit differently. So you gotta know what the limits are. It's not that y'all gotta control each other. So if y'all's weekly spending limit, say y'all balling out of control, and y'all weekly spending limit is $10,000 or something, then cool, you ain't got to talk to nobody.
Right. 10,001.
Babe,
y'all
we
gotta have
talked
a
about
conversation.
this.
Right. There was $10,001 missing.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't know. That's why I said I had mixed feelings about this. And then the other thing that kind of threw me off was she knew exactly how much money in the account was his.
Yeah.
That control freak.
I know. I was like,
Was
that
serious.
is. I said that was controlling and insecure.
She need an enema.
Well, I couldn't even say what I was getting ready to say.
Because she had a lot of in her.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, I think that a lot of that insecurity came from, like, she just kept having things taken from her. You know, like what, and didn't even address it. It didn't seem like you just kept it in.
I agree with that, but at the same
That's an
time,
interesting
I'm gonna
point.
be honest. Like, she was projecting and blaming a lot of stuff that she was feeling in her other relationships, and her sister said this later in the movie. Like, you taking everything out on everybody else, but you're not dealing with the root cause and who the common denominator is in all these problems.
Oh, I know,
You
but
know?
that's the thing. Like, she's had darts. She may be the culprit now, but she has darts that she didn't pull out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been hurt both ways. But yeah, I think you make an interesting point with that. I hadn't thought of it in that way, but I was like, dang, that's super controlling and insecure.
And you got to think she probably won't the stereotypical alpha male. But
Just like the boomerang situation.
Man, you walked right in my head.
but at the same time, you don't give no leeway for no alpha man to exist. You beat him down, you break his spirit. And in reality, Terry is an alpha female, so she really probably need a beta or a gamma.
Probably. That
Probably.
one.
Yeah, she need. So we'll talk about that if that's something y'all want us to talk about, different types of males, because typically the only thing everybody talks about is alpha. And there's multiple types of males.
But communication is key.
Yes.
Her method is not working, but
No.
communication is key.
Because
This
it keeps-
husband number 2.
Yeah, and it seemed like whatever was going on in their marriage, that's consistently a wedge right there. Because, well, we'll talk about it later.
So Faith arrives, and they end that scene.
I'm trying to figure out how Faith end up with Terry anyway.
Because everybody else says she ain't staying at my house.
And probably Big Mama probably had already said something to her. Because you got to think, all that stuff, Big Mama was sitting at the table. So they probably had some type of conversation.
And I know Maxine did say, well, she can't stay with me, Kenny, and the kids. So she gonna have to come to your house.
And it wouldn't have been no way anyway with the new baby and all that other kind of stuff. But
why she just didn't stay with Big Mama house?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They probably said, Big Mama probably said something, and Faith probably wasn't going to take care of Uncle.
I also think because she has done so much to Big Mama that they didn't want her to have access to her.
And the
'Cause she was
newlyweds are there.
The newlyweds are there too, and because later on she was like, "So you gonna get a car in her name, or you gonna go to jail and make up with the house?" So they may have also been trying to protect Big Mama from her.
That's no
potentially.
I understand that. Okay.
So here comes the surgery scene for Big Mama. And she is laying on the gurney. And of course, everybody's saying their, good lucks and I love yous before she is wheeled off for her amputation. And she asks for Ahmad to come over to her and basically, throws the strong black trope onto him, like, I need you to be the glue for the family, kind of hold everybody down and hold them together, which is a lot of pressure for us. I don't know, maybe 12-year-old. I don't know how old he is 12, in this movie.
Because he was intelligent, so we're going to say 12.
Yeah, he definitely did not look like a teenager.
Yeah.
But he didn't look little either. There's a fear that's kind of hovering over that scene. There's an unknown factor that comes along with surgery because, you go under and
you might not.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you would literally not know that you had passed away.
Yeah,
you would just literally pass away. So there's an impact also of potentially losing a matriarch. That changes the dynamics of families heavily. Or patriarch. Whoever the head of the family is. There's a huge impact that's felt when those individuals are gone. Especially if the bonds that were forged before their passing weren't tight.
Because it was falling apart and she was just in a coma.
Yeah, because she was the glue.
Yeah.
And she passed that toxic stuff on to little Ahmad.
I know. I said, oh, that pressure on that little boy.
I'm a firm believer all torches don't need to be passed. Some of that stuff is curses.
Yeah. Because it was almost, while he wasn't parentified in the traditional sense, it was like a parentification for him. That he was being requested to take care of the emotional baggage of adults.
And he did.
Yes. Oh my God, he did.
He didn't necessarily get into everybody's business or anything like that. He just did the kind of normal sneaking around getting information. But at the end, he took care of everybody's emotional stuff.
And he we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So Big Mama has her surgery. She ends up going into a coma. And then the next scene is Lim looking for a job.
Well, the one part that I did like about Maxine and Kenny and Ahmad is that when because Ahmad didn't go into the recovery room with everybody. He ended up coming later. And when he went in there, I liked the fact that he was able to emote. And I liked that Maxine and his father came to comfort him. Yeah.
That was good to see.
They had such a good dynamic.
They did.
Better be a good something.
With the exception of parentifying the boy. Everything else about their little family is good. So for the scene with Lim, this just, again, was more evidence on how difficult it is for someone with a felony to become successful back in society, even though society says, we will welcome you back with open arms because you have paid your debt to us, which is a big old fat lie.
Clearly. They don't welcome veterans back, so they ain't gonna welcome a felon.
Okay.
Oh my God.
That is so unfortunate.
It is. So then they go to the hospital and they are in the recovery room, and this is the scene that you're talking about where Ahmad comes in a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
So Terry and Maxine again are going at it because about money, as usual. And I was thinking, this was when I first had the thought that Terry was jealous of Maxine.
This scene reminded me of A Different World when Jasmine Guy Whitley was, I'm Big Sister Beautiful. I'm Big Sister Beautiful. She kept saying it.
Yeah.
Because she was just kind of looking at her, and I was like, this is where she can see that her sister has less than her, but she is genuinely happy with her life. And that money, there's a certain level of money that can bring happiness, but after a certain point, it doesn't do what it's, people think it's going to do anymore.
And in this scene, I was like, whenever Terry talked to them or talked at them, it was like she always had to bring up the fact that she had a degree, she went to school, and she had money. Like that was her introduction to herself. Like that was all you brought to the table.
I don't think she realized that probably the reason why she was able to do that is because other people made sacrifices for her.
Well, she was talking about how Big Mama and their dad pushed her. They pushed her to be in the books. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking, well, why didn't they push the other two? Like, what was so different about her that they pushed her to be in the books?
She was the firstborn, because the firstborn. Well, you were firstborn. I ain't got. Y'all, the parents seem to be more tight and structured and on top of you, because one, you're the firstborn, so you've been there for a while by yourself. And then I get the other two. All right, y'all go to school.
But I also think there's some importance of, Maxine stayed behind. Yes, some of that was because she got pregnant, got married, all that good stuff, but she also stayed behind and helped take care of the family. And people who think career and think degrees are everything fail to realize the importance of caregivers and homemakers and things of that nature. Like, they the backbone still of the family. Everybody ain't got to go to college.
No.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
I definitely agree
If
with that.
I could have not went, I wouldn't have. But that's not the point.
Because these student loans, the way they set up,
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost had a rant there. But, they start arguing about money. And then this is where Ahmad comes in and, he opens the door and it kind of shocks everybody.
Yeah, because her leg is showing.
So then they talk about setting up the Sunday dinner and in this scene too. And Terry does not want to do it.
My mama ain't even dead and you taking over. You don't calm down.
I know.
Like, you the controlling one.
Right?
I'm like, this is what we've done our entire lives. You don't want us to continue it in her memories? Or like, I'm confused.
So they they attempt to have the Sunday dinner. Poor bird who can't cook.
But hold on. When she started naming all that food and she said egg pie, I said, what is an egg pie? That sounds disgusting.
I don't know what egg pie is, though.
I think it's just like a custard pie kind of thing. Like,
because I was thinking kind of like buttermilk pie,
like that. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, that sounds like that's nasty.
Well, to your weird and non-trying things taste buds, yes. I mean, I don't eat it because I don't like the texture.
I've never had egg pie. I've had buttermilk pie.
It's similar.
It's an acquired taste. I will say that.
See,
it's sweet. It's basically like sweet milk pie, basically.
Yeah. It's just like a pie.
That don't sound appetizing.
It's kind of like the texture of like key lime pie
key lime or pecan pie. The bottom.
I don't like key lime pie either.
Gotcha. It's kind of like that same kind of texture,
consistency.
Poor bird though.
She tried, but that stuff was burnt up.
She burnt the corn. What?
She burnt everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what they ate, but Lim was very appreciative of her, and I appreciate that. And
he was gonna eat that cake,
and the Reverend
that blackened.
Well, he looked at it like it was weird.
I ain't see
I'm
that
glad
part.
that's not my struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, I can cook decent. I can cook better than that.
You can cook.
You can cook.
I can. But boy, that was rough.
When everything on your table is black and brown.
It's like, why do the food match the table? There's a problem here.
Yeah.
But they ate it. So then the next scene is Terry and Miles. They are at home and he's trying to, do a little danceroo with her. And she's like, no, I don't want to. Leave me alone.
But the juxtaposition between them and Kenny and Maxine, exact same situation. And she was like, I don't want to dance. I don't want to do that. I was like, you don't want no husband.
Right. I'm like, you couldn't even have your little married moment with your husband. Like, what What is wrong?
He trying to cheer you up,
I
and he's
know.
doing it in a way that probably does actually meet your needs because it's giving you the attention you probably need and love, but in a way that matches him because he's musical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's
So then you made him change his demeanor to now start talking about, well, I quit my job. Or I don't know if he said it right then, but he said something about his music. Oh,
he
because
said
then
he was thinking about quitting his job
Because then she said, oh, I can't come and see you play.
because she had too much work to do.
Like,
I
you
was
just
like,
not supportive
you
at
couldn't
all.
take an hour.
And then go back.
Yeah. Like, okay, well, I'll see the first set. And then, because I have a lot of work to do, I'll come see the first set and then I'll leave.
Because I'm sure nobody is requiring the things that you are pushing onto yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know you're trying to make partner and everything, but my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be partnered by yourself, unpartnered.
Because this was a moment where I was like, well, he was attempting to try to talk to her. Like, I want to pursue my music seriously, and I'm thinking about leaving the firm. Whereas before he was like, look, I took
Right.
Well,
right.
he didn't tell her he took $5,000. She was like, there was $5,000 missing. But at least this time he was like, look, I'm thinking about leaving the firm, and I want to pursue music as a career.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of basically called him a scrub. It was like, why would you want to do that? And you're a hired, he must be a great attorney.
Is he an attorney or was he? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he
if
was
he was like
attorney.
an architect. I forgot.
No, he was.
completely.
They were both attorneys.
Okay.
And she was talking about he worked at like one of the most prestigious firms, in wherever they lived.
Chicago.
Oh, was it Chicago? I couldn't tell where it was.
They moved from like Mississippi or Alabama to Chicago.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So he worked at one of the most prestigious firms there. He apparently was high up in the firm. I don't think he was partner, but she was possibly getting ready to become partner, and he was like, well, isn't this what you've been wanting? Like, he seemed like he wants to be happy for her, but her reaction doesn't suggest like, okay, so maybe this is not a moment I should be happy for you.
Yeah. Is this the part where he said, hey, what happened to us? We used to have fun.
No, that's later.
Later. Okay.
That's when they're at the table at the end.
Got you. Okay.
And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go play my set. Somehow, Faith is at the club.
Hold on.
Oh,
Why Faith bouncing around the house like a kid with too much energy?
histrionic.
Because all that bouncing with the swinging of the hair and stuff, I'm like, girl, sit down.
Histrionic or a little cluster B borderline.
Yeah, she definitely got
coming
them cluster B traits coming through. So interns, here's your psych 101 lesson for today. Histrionic. This is somebody who's going to be super wild and crazy, very sexualized. They love attention. They just kind of ooze
Sex appeal.
sexuality. They lead with their body. They lead with sex. It's just everything's going to kind of tie back to the attention being on them.
Excessive attention seeking.
Yeah, they are super big personalities, over the top, like everything's going to be dramatic. They don't do anything subtle. Which would explain partially why Faith is like bouncing around and everything she does is so super fluid and, very love child. And the way she talks is so sensual. Like, it's not like, hey, cousin, how you doing? How was work today? It's, hey, cousin.
And y'all, we not coming down on her because Dr. Jones and myself are former dancers. So
this ain't got nothing to do with her being a dancer.
No.
it has nothing to do with that. So anybody that's trying to come for us later because they feel like we was too harsh on cousin Faith in this moment, stop it.
Yeah.
Nah.
But she definitely got some cluster B. I mean, she has a substance abuse history. She has a criminal past. So, there's
and she was a stripper.
And she was a stripper. So, she's swindled money out of Big Mama. So there's some justification for some of the things that we're saying here as well.
Yeah.
So she's got some cluster B stuff going on. So she's at the club listening to Milestone. Was that the name of the group?
Probably.
Yes.
Because it had to do with his name.
Oh, yeah. Because she said the group is called Milestone, not them.
So she was in there listening to Milestone, and she was giving him the bedroom eyes the whole time.
The attention that he wanted.
Yep.
And I said, ooh, what I wrote in my notes is affairs don't start with sex. They start with a conversation.
Yep.
And in that moment, he was hooked.
Yep.
And I had to say this because I've dated many a musician, and he was a good guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a good musician, because what you tend to see in musicians is that playboy, that very out there, sleeping with a whole bunch of people, especially because he was the composer and like doing everything. Like, he could have pretty much had any woman he wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, he was on paper your quintessential man. He was an attorney. He made good money. He's not a bad looking dude. He got his stuff together. He's, talented musically. I mean,
seemed to want to be emotionally intelligent with his wife.
Yeah, and wanted to be committed.
Right.
Like, he wants a relationship. So, like, on paper, it's almost like you couldn't get no better.
Yeah. I wonder how many years they had been married before.
Yeah, I don't know.
We come into their situation.
And I said, man, this is none but foreshadowing.
I was like, y'all smiling too hard at each other.
Oh God, I was like, yeah. I remember them starting right there.
Them claws was out. So then, that's when he got connected.
And she was giving him what he was not receiving from Terry, the support for his music.
Oh, that was one of the things that I wrote in my notes. When somebody is need starved, the second they get even a droplet amount of attention, they are going to drown in that pool of attention. And that's what he was. He was need starved. He needed that, reciprocal kind of affection from Terry, and he wasn't getting it. And Faith, even though she wasn't showing him affection, she was showing him attention.
Yeah.
Quality.
She saw him.
You can tell that was one of his love languages.
Yeah.
Quality time.
Yep. So then the next scene is Bird and Lim. And I thought that this was a pretty... This is when she's downstairs, right, with the...
Trying to get him that burnt food.
Right. I thought these friends were hilarious.
Yes.
He was like,
Miss Thang can't cook. That's why they didn't eat that food.
I said, this man is hilarious.
Because this is when they beat him, right?
Yeah.
Because they thought
and
he
that
was
towel
a
dropped.
burglar. I said, and he was like, stop staring at me.
Oh, girl, I love that.
I was like, you signed a paper.
Yep.
Okay.
I get to look at whatever I so want to look at.
So then they go into the bathroom and she like, what are you doing home in the middle of the day? And then he has to tell her like, I lost my job. And she's like, why you ain't tell me? So then, of course, they had that conversation about what we've been talking about already, that, he's not going to get a chance because, people are going to hold him back. He has a felony.
Yeah.
And then I didn't appreciate that she tried to use it like, you can't use that white man, going to hold you down kind of thing.
Yeah, she belittled like his circumstance. Like, I get that there are some people who go down that road. We're not going to talk about them right now. But that was not what he was doing. He was genuinely... And he said this, I've applied to 6 jobs. Back then that's a lot. This is not like 211 where you got to do 5-10 applications every day. No, this is like you really like busting your butt. You trying to follow up some leads and
like
it
you
was
have
a lot
to go
more,
to places.
Yeah, it's not like the internet was just booming back then because you would have just got the green screen, what I mean? And y'all don't know nothing about that.
For if we have any younger interns in 97, like dial up, there was no such thing as broadband. Like that didn't, Wi-Fi didn't, there was none of those things. You had a phone line, a hard line in your house, and the only way you could get on the internet was if nobody was on the phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
And back to when Kenny brought the computer in, like how excited they was. Like if that came into a house now that, it was affordable, people just be like, oh, okay, it's a computer. He was talking about the email. I'm like, that comes with everything.
CD-ROM.
People don't even know what CD-ROM
the
is no
internet.
more.
Right.
I was like, oh man, and it's the Big Mac too.
Right. Right.
The big old tube in the back. I remember they had those at school.
The color ones. Yeah, we over here aging ourselves.
We are hard. But I still appreciated his ability, even though they were kind of arguing, like to articulate his point.
Yes.
That's why I said Lynn was on top of it.
And the one
in
thing
this movie
that I paid attention to was that he said he didn't. She said there's people coming through the shop all the time. I'll see if anyone needs some help. He said, I don't need your help.
I got this.
Set a boundary. Set a boundary.
There you go. And that's a nugget for later.
And it was early. You can tell that, not too much time had gone by since he had lost the job. It wasn't like it had been months and months. Because Big Mama's still in a coma.
That's true.
So what I did like, even though, he eventually said, I don't want your help, that I like that after they calmed down, they tried to engage in partnership. She at least offered like, well, I can try to help you out. And, after they kind of calmed the situation down. And then she was like, well, I can just pay the bills and, I'll take care of everything. And then I was like, man, there goes that strong black woman trope again.
But then I
saw
saw
his
understand
face. Why she had to.
Yeah. I heard that and saw that. But then I saw his face like prideful, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm going to get a job.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
Okay, babe.
Young love. So then the next scene is Miles is driving on the street, and somehow in this giant city, he just happens to be on the same street as Faith. And she outside arguing with somebody, I guess for studio. He was supposed to play for her on her audition. And I said, well, what are the odds of that?
Well, I mean, that could make sense because typically your dance studio, like rental spaces, are probably going to be in the same area as a big time firm because of the space.
Gotcha. So then he ends up, she of course begs him, and somehow he's not busy with his high powered job. So she asks him to come play for him to do her audition so that she can dance. He goes up there and they kill it.
I remember seeing this routine for the first time. I stole the whole thing.
I hated it.
Absolutely
it's so
loved
funny
it.
y'all say it. In my notes I have, I wonder what the ladies think about her audition.
I hated it.
Now
she had good
That's so
form.
funny.
I'm not saying she didn't have good form in some parts, but I hated it because it was Faith.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like
mhm.
because of that, and then I
Yeah.
didn't like this song afterwards either. Like I don't like. It just tear my nerves up. I can't even do it.
I loved it.
But it was this part.
Girl, I loved it because when I say I learned this entire routine, I learned the entire routine and I sectioned it off and put it in other routines that I created.
Oh, wow.
I learned this whole routine, and girl, and when I saw it this time and I saw her doing, I remembered the whole team. Now, my kicks don't look the same, but I was like, you better get that leg up in that air.
That's so funny.
I loved it.
I liked the only part I liked is when she did the turgite. That's it.
Now my leaps ain't doing nothing no more.
I wish I
Well,
would
not right
be.
now. I
Y'all
wish
wouldn't
I
have
would come
no
off the
need-
ground.
I'd be a paraplegic.
Yeah, no, I can't. No.
So then here comes another angering part of the film. And
Oh yeah.
Bird did not do what she said she was going to do.
What her husband asked.
And she asks Samuel to come in. And here she go with the body language again.
It's so inappropriate. Let me take your briefcase, baby. Baby? This baby?
She sexed it all the way up. I ain't even gonna lie. It was highly inappropriate.
Yes.
Yeah. This is what people talk about, women using sex to get what they want. And that's what happened. Now, she didn't promise him
So
sex.
she say.
So she says she did not promise him any kind of sexual activity. But you definitely used that to your advantage.
She gave something
prospect
she didn't
of that.
have permission to give away.
Mm-hmm.
When you got to put that level of energy into somebody else and y'all not in an open relationship, or that's not an agreement that y'all have in y'all's relationship, you have overstepped.
Mm-hmm. The intention was good, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
What is wrong with you today? Oh, Lord.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, you look.
Intent versus impact.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, of course, Lim gets the job. He is super excited and over the moon, and it just hurt my little heart knowing exactly how he got this job.
That hurt my. I was.
And
like,
this heifer
"Aw."
sitting up at Big Mama's table with roses and lingerie on.
Like
you know
ain't
you
just
did wrong.
Exactly.
That was her. I'm gonna say I'm sorry in my own way. But you don't know that I'm saying I'm sorry for it.
Probably when she
Wow.
got pregnant.
I didn't even think about
See, I was
that.
wondering if it was the bathroom scene.
It
but,
might have been that bathroom.
but
scene.
that makes sense too, though.
The angle.
Oh
you know.
yeah.
Ooh, I held it. Ooh, I'm glad. I held it. Okay, so then, so Lim is working, doing good. The boss is like, man, like you out here killing the game.
He
I am
proud of
so
himself. You know.
impressed with your skills. Can you work this M9000 machine over here?
Got a
Yes,
little mini promotion.
he
Okay.
did. And he had only been there, what, a couple of weeks?
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
So here comes Samuel while Lim just trying to be a worker.
Eating
and
his little
eat his
dry
lunch.
sandwiches.
I know. He mind his own business.
And here he come doing the most. And they like closing up on his lips the whole time.
I mean, Mel Jackson do got beautiful lips though. he
they
do.
were. I mean, they
They
was
real
nice.
moisturized. They like LLs, but lighter. I'm gonna get it together once I get my life.
He got a flaunt, that he make $80,000, and
Oh,
proceeds to tell Lim, I know Bird real well.
No,
No,
cola.
first
he said bird first,
Oh,
and then
did
he
he?
said
Okay.
cola.
Okay.
And then, he said, I'm a hook, I know real well. And, from back in the day, Cola. And he like, who was Cola? Bird.
That's what I call her, cause she's shaped like a Coca-Cola bottle. Or he might have said Pepsi-Cola. I can't remember.
I think he said Coca-Cola.
I said, oh, okay.
And he promised
And
to.
then he couldn't hear nothing else because you just done said something about my wife's body.
No, he was good.
He was still holding
was
it.
He was
good.
holding it in, but he couldn't hear.
until he said that statement about that.
You
got
she
the
can
job.
make you scream.
No. The job part. That's when his brain said.
He said, because he said, I helped her. No, he said something to the effect like how I helped you.
Yeah, but that's how he went into the she make a brother scream, and that's when he got up and hit his in the face.
He stomped him.
Yeah.
He did. He hit him in the face with that tray.
He stomped him
Girl,
like
he
he had
couldn't even fall.
Timberlands on. I said you met the right one today.
Yeah, you met the right one today because he couldn't even fall out of the chair. He was
Yeah. Jesus. And then here come that scene. Boy, this scene tore me up.
This was a good
when
scene.
he came in and slammed that door and
And
that
it
glass
shattered.
Am I the
shattered.
only one that thought he was sexy when he first came in?
I used to really think Mekhi Phifer was sexy.
I did too.
I
I did
still
for-
do.
I
do
that
too,
one.
yeah.
For
I
a
think
hot
the
minute,
older
I
one is
did.
cute,
Yeah.
but he not sexy.
But when
Yeah.
he came in and said, "Come here, let me talk to you," I was like, "He is sexy."
Racial slur.
I almost said the racial slur because I was like, "What, boy? Don't you come at me like that? Because you might not argue with me right now."
You so
Ma'am, we no.
run a clean
you don't
show.
you don't need to be handled. You need to handle yourself.
Yes.
Don't do that.
But that was
in this situation
beautiful.
anyway.
And it was just that part. But
Just
then-
that part.
Yeah.
I mean, it do got a little that like,
But that she knew she had done. She
Yeah.
knew what. Oh Lord.
Yeah.
because baby, I was like, ooh, I wonder if that meant to happen for real when he closed that door.
I
If
know.
if if that scene was meaning to happen that way, or he literally did like was overacting and like slammed
that
it
joint.
And it really, because everybody was in it like, oh,
I
shoot,
know.
like they jumped
Yeah.
like for real.
Yeah.
He might have did it, you know, because I can't see them continuously putting up a new glass
Every time they had, hopefully they didn't have to shoot that scene more than once, but
baby, he yanked her up, and he was like, "We now you coming to talk to me back here?"
Slam the other door.
and I felt a couple of ways. I appreciated the fact that he was still able to articulate what was wrong with him. I mean, now granted, I didn't necessarily like the shove, but I understood the shove because he was trying his best to hold it in and keep himself together.
He outlined her face like Kevin Hart said. Or was that the other one with the pressed hair?
Cat Williams.
Cat Williams, one of them short men.
Yes,
Yeah.
because he held that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah, I remember seeing that scene. I was like, "Oh, did he hit her this time?" But I, because I hadn't seen it in so long. I was glad he didn't hit her, but I understood like the intense anger that he had because one, his pride. Like
Yes.
I told you I could do this myself.
And then with I think it would have been different had it just been a family friend.
Yeah,
But you mess with our marriage in this situation. You know what I mean?
because that's what he said. Did you sleep with him?
yeah, this is your ex.
Yeah,
That's when he saw that bracelet. Where you get this from? It don't mean nothing. Evidently it do.
because you wearing it like your husband done gave it to you.
Because that thing would have
All
been in
out
the
in
box.
the open. You out in the
And
open.
everybody know
Yep.
that he came up here.
You work in the most gossiping industry ever. You are a beautician.
Yes, ma'am.
And you brought that man to your shop.
And
You
was
didn't go
doing
have
demos.
you didn't go have a separate conversation with him somewhere else. You didn't meet him at his place. You brought him to your place of business for everybody to be in your business to make this go down.
Yep.
And on a side note, do she got her barber license? I'm because you can't. Them not the same licenses. You just gonna edge him up, but you ain't got. Come on now.
I thought about that
Clippers is not the same as
That is
scissors.
true.
too. I had thought about that when she said, "Let me just clean you up," and I was like, "Wait, she a hairstylist?" I was like, "But maybe it's not my industry, so maybe I don't know."
No, you was right. Maybe Chicago different, but as far as Texas is, you got to have both licenses if you're gonna be doing that.
Gotcha.
And then this just played up that whole thing of what Big Mama said when, their daddy was gambling and how she took on all these different jobs to try to, make them, be okay and keep them afloat. Bird did the same thing. She, even though she went against her husband's wishes, but the idea of what she was doing was very similar to Big Mama's.
That was a good scene. He acted his butt off.
He did.
He really did.
I
Shout out
just
to you,
don't-
Makai.
I know.
Miss Pfeiffer, Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
And Nia Long, because y'all's energy was good in that scene.
It was.
Yeah. Because I just don't understand how she thought that would play out.
She didn't think it through. She was just like, I need to help my
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
And all help ain't good help.
Right.
True. And I think she thought like a young woman.
That's a
Had
good
she
point.
been Big Mama's age, she probably would not have done. She would have done something on her end, like Big Mama did, like work another job, do another this, take on some this. I think she would have done something herself to make them, kind of be afloat. But I think for where they were in life, she thought like a young wife.
I think
and a
even if
young
she would have
woman.
been Maxine, she would have done something different.
Yeah, she would have.
She was not. She was not in a seasoned relationship.
I
They
can
were.
yeah.
She the baby.
Yes, which
She had
also
no
makes me
consequences.
think they're very new in relationship. Like they're not.
Yes.
They haven't been together for years and years. They've been together for a short time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so then cousin Terry
With her.
getting involved in other people's business and making assumptions and jumping to conclusions gets their cousin Blim to go beat up Lim.
Attempt. Let's say attempt.
But
Attempt.
I tell you, when I say that Makai Pfeiffer gave it to him,
He did.
boy, I tell you, y'all got the wrong one. You talking about a real thug right here.
He stomped him too, and cousin Lim had some weight on him, but he got stomped and the guns was pulled out.
But I do realize. Did y'all hear when a cousin said, "I should have bought my gun" or whatever?
But she told him literally on the phone, no guns or whatever, which was good because then we would have had people dead,
right?
Essentially. But it just, you can't fix other people's problems, right? You have to stay in your place, and of course Terry don't know where her place is.
But the thing is, I understand why Terry called the cousin, because that's typically what you do, especially if you think your husband has, or boyfriend, whatever, has attacked them physically.
Yeah, but it looks like she hadn't even talked to Bird yet, because Bird was throwing up in the toilet.
And that's the issue. She should have waited and talked to Bird first.
Like, tell me what's going on? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I understand being protective. Like, we all talked about that in the siblings episode, how we are very protective over our brothers. But I'm not going to just jump immediately. Now, I'll whoop somebody's butt.
Right.
And my brothers know that, because I got nicknames for all they other people's past significant others that didn't make the cut. But she went too far.
She did. So then, because of this fight, Lim gets arrested.
And one of the things that so Terry still hadn't talked to Bird.
No,
because she said, "What happened?"
No, she didn't know. She literally was being driven home, I think, by Kenny or somebody. I can't remember.
It was Kenny. It was Kenny.
Saved the day. Being taken home by Kenny, and she sees the lights flashing at the bar, and her husband being taken into custody. So I'm like, girl, how you gonna control everything and then not tell nothing?
Right.
Then here comes the infamous scene.
Girl,
set a scene.
Just come on,
set
let's
a
get
scene.
through it.
So this is where Miles and Faith are at Terry and Miles's house, and they are just kind of talking, and he's working on. No,
he had good news.
He had good news. He was saying that he had quit his job, and that he was going to pursue his music career, permanently or on a full-time basis at that point. So she's congratulating him.
Let's celebrate.
Well, he also asked her about her audition,
and she did good.
And she said she got it. And one of the things that I noticed right there, like, you got it. When did you find out? Because you didn't tell nobody in your family. Like, you couldn't even.
Ain't close, man.
I understand, but you there.
I wouldn't have told nobody either. I'm just being honest. Like, if I'm always met with that energy, I shut down. And she seems like and they said this, runs,
So yeah, I know she run, but the thing is, she told Terry she changed.
Well, so we know she didn't.
I know. We clearly she hadn't.
She probably a little better, but not no whole bunch.
Not emotionally.
No. So they sitting there drinking their little liquor
with her little booty cheeks hanging out in that little bitty skirt.
And alcohol and sexual tension don't go well together. Or maybe they do, but just not in this setting. So, he's like, I'm going to go upstairs and work on my music. But before this, he read her.
He did. Yes.
He made a small attempt to get away.
He did.
But he basically was like, look,
stop pretending like you don't need nobody.
And then she had to lay there and think about it. And in her histrionic way, she was like, you know what? That was my opening spot right there. So she goes upstairs.
And you had plenty. Go ahead. Let me let you finish.
Go ahead.
No, because you was getting ready to set it up. I'm going to say what I got to say after.
So then she waltzes up there, literally, and opens the door and kind of chante, or chasse, or however y'all say. Chasse, thank you. Her way down the little steps, and
they already knew what was getting ready to happen.
The way that girl
it was on
walked
site
up on his legs, I said, okay, this a whole Dirty Dancing moment when they was in the cabin.
And see, my thing is, you made don't look shame after. I don't want to see that.
I couldn't tell what it was. I wasn't sure if it was regret, shame, or shock.
Shame.
I feel like it was shame. Yeah.
Because it wasn't no shock. She knew what was going on.
No, not in, but like, oh, we really did that.
I feel like it was
I
shame.
feel like it was shame. It could have been all three. Yes.
Yeah.
But my thing is, and the reason why I say that is because he got away from you. You made a conscious decision to walk up to the roof. Open the door.
All the way.
And seduce this this man.
Because you straddled him.
Yeah. You had all that time, because you had to walk upstairs to the roof. You had all that time to talk yourself out of it. But you talked yourself, man. So I don't want to see no shine. Nope.
That's how you get beat.
That's
I said, boy, Terry showed immense restraint.
It was only because Ahmad was there.
And that's what I said.
That's what I said too.
I said that saved both of them in that moment because she had
so much strength right there to me.
That's Shock and Ahmad. Because I mean, you just don't expect who expects that,
right?
Unless you swingers and you live an open lifestyle. That's a little different. But you don't expect that I'm gonna walk up and I'm gonna see this, because there was no reason for Faith to have ever been in that space, because that was only his space. Yeah. Now I'm not saying that all of this is on Faith, because Miles
he chose to.
Yeah.
If you got to run.
Because you did it the first time. You ran away from it when you went to your studio.
Exactly. It remind me of, is that Joseph in the Bible? Somebody in the Bible where they ran from the queen. I can't remember, but the point is run. That's the point. My chemo brain is not letting me be great today, but you run. You know.
You talking about when Elijah ran from Jezebel?
No, I'm talking about, I think it's Joseph, because he had the Technicolor coat.
Oh, yes. He ran from the queen because the
king. Yes. So you know where I'm at.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
You know, she was a cougar trying to get him, and he was like, no, and he left his coat behind. That's how he went to jail, but that's not the point. Here, the point is, when you know temptation is staring you in your face and you trying to do something that is the honorable thing, especially in a situation like this, you gotta run.
Yes. Like,
girl,
but the thing is, the sexual tension had already started building.
No, see,
from the club,
and this is because I know me. My Scorpio self is nasty, so I know myself. I'd have saw, because I'd have saw that 6'4" man come up them stairs. I just made this up, y'all, and I would have been like, "Oh, bye."
I would have ran over there to the door and locked it. You can't come up in here.
Don't tempt me, because I know my limitations, and they ain't that far.
They hang on by a thread. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and apologize to the aunties out there, the auntie interns. I love this sex scene though. No,
it was a good. It was a good
sex scene.
It just
this is.
It was very sensual.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought
that breathing each other's air, that sharing of each other's. I just wish it was. Terry.
Right. If I wish it was Terry. I do wish it was Terry. But what I was like, that is passion.
Yeah.
That slow burn.
Yes. And they didn't have none of that weird music playing in the background. Like, it was literally like you heard the breathing, all of it.
Let me come back. Jesus.
I know. I'm trying to keep a PG up in here because this is not a this broad episode. But if I had to rank, this would be one of my top 5 in a movie. I'll just say that, and I'll leave it at that. Because
I would have to say Love Jones was and that maybe because I'm partial.
But those are similar. That same energy.
Yeah.
Nia Long in both of them.
That is true.
That's so true.
That is true.
But I was like, it just really kind of showed like that's what he needed. He needed passion. He needed connection. Yeah. And it was just for a brief moment, but. Remember what I was saying a little bit earlier about drowning in that pool.
Yeah. This was a great visual of feminine and masculine energy and how they both had it because Faith came up there with masculine energy. She dominated, and as soon as he turned on, it was like this
switch,
and then the feminine and masculine. Yes,
it was. I do agree with you. It was a good scene, just wrong partners.
Yeah, wrong partner. But if you take her as who she is out of it and watching and looking at just two individuals, I was like, man, they did that scene.
And you know, he ain't played no good role since then. He gets on my last nerve in most of the roles he plays now. I was cool with this one, and then it just kind of went downhill.
Yeah, I can't
think of another movie.
Yeah,
He's bald now.
He's what?
Bald.
He is bald.
He be playing these really. He be playing the Mel
like
Jacksons,
the villain.
Yes.
He is bald now.
That is
because I was like, I can't think of a movie off the top of my head that he's in.
I can't think of it either, but I've seen him.
If I looked him up, I was like, oh yeah,
exactly.
He was that guy in that thing. But yeah, that's enough on that. This is, like I said, this is not this broad episode because I can go on and on. But anyway,
Terry then I thought had another family member.
Oh yeah, yes. That was my next thing that I was getting to at the anniversary dinner.
Gotcha.
Or anniversary party. So the next scene is they're at an anniversary party for Maxine and Kenny.
11 years.
11 years. And of course, this is a great celebration. You know, everything is going great and everybody's loved up all on each other and, you know, doing the slow dance and then got the soul train. I mean, it's just
old school house party.
It's going good. And of course, Terry is in her feelings because she literally, like, not even probably an hour before that, just called her husband and her cousin.
And to see them.
I was glad to see her emote and not try to keep that, I guess, strong black woman
angry.
Yeah, she emoted in her own way.
Well, with tears without everybody being around.
With tears and then with Kenny.
Yes.
Yeah.
I almost thought she was going to kiss him.
I said, I'll punch you.
I got so scared.
I did too.
I was like, I don't remember her kissing him in this scene.
Me too. Yes. I was like, oh my God, please don't kiss him. Please don't kiss him.
No, she knew her limits and she backed on up.
Yeah.
Because that would have been the day she died.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she knew what she needed. And she needed what Miles needed. But she had enough restraint to know, like,
not with you.
And she even said, you know, something to that effect about she wonders how things would have went with him if she had not. This is not her exact words. If she hadn't been so broken. These are not her exact words, though.
Yeah, but that was the sentiment. And the way he responded to her is what kind of made me wonder if they had dated longer.
See, I think I got distracted by everybody coming in. What did he say?
It was the way he was like, you know, Terry, don't, you know.
I don't know. I was just like waiting for the next part of this scene
because I think that's what I was doing too, because I did not want her to kiss him. So I was like, somebody come in, please.
And they do.
Yes.
And they're all standing in the kitchen and then they're talking. Of course, Maxine asks if Terry and Miles will pay for
Big Mama's
hospital bills.
And they'll pay him back. But we know.
Supposedly. Allegedly. And then I was like, see, this is part of the problem again. I was like, of course, we all know she's about to snap in this moment. Or very soon after that. And I'm like, here we go again. Y'all don't want her to throw money up in y'all face. But y'all steady asking her to take care of everything.
Yep.
So you're giving her leverage to continue to throw money up in y'all face.
Because see, the thing is, Kenny said we thought we could handle this together and pay Big Mama's hospital bills together. And then Max said, well, Terry, we thought you and Miles could. No. That ain't what Kenny just said.
Yeah. Y'all better go see that financial liaison that's in the hospital
and get on a payment plan.
Exactly.
And then, you know, and then Maxine is like talking, you know, it's for the family. And then
that's when she blow up.
Terry says, F the family F my husband.
And she about to be on an episode of Snapped.
And what I didn't understand, I understood it, but I didn't appreciate. Max gonna say, Miles, girl, shut up. You stole her boyfriend too.
I could understand in this situation because in her head, she passed this. Obviously, her sister's not past this, but she is past this, and she looking like.
And so, but that's why I say because her sister ain't passed it. Now, it might be her own fault because she ain't talked about it. But still, you stole her man too.
And I don't think anybody expected this from Miles.
That's true.
They probably would have expected this from Liam, and that clearly is not what he ever gonna do. But I don't think nobody was like, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think the shock was it was with Faith. Mm-hmm. You know, I can definitely respect that, but why would y'all be shocked? Because y'all know Faith history. I mean, now granted, it may not have been that she was sleeping with other people's husband, but I don't know if they're shocked with her.
Not her, but
they're shocked with him.
Did it.
Oh,
with
that
her.
he okay, gotcha.
That the person that he slept with was Faith.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
They had higher expectations
for him. Mm-hmm.
But y'all,
and this is when I said crimes of passion are a real thing. People, please believe.
The way she pulled that knife,
girl,
up out that cake or wherever it was laying, and charged him, and everybody scattered. I said, "Oh, one good fall, it's over."
Mm-hmm. Again, crimes of passion are real.
Yeah,
people. That's why the show Snapped exists. People literally have breaks. Like
you cannot play with people's emotions like that.
My thing, folks.
Right? If you're unhappy in the relationship, now clearly both of them knew they were unhappy. End it. Mm-hmm. Just end it, or go to therapy, talk about it so you can resolve it, or end it.
Agreed. Because she almost came at Faith too.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, when but they grabbed her.
Kenny grabbed her.
Well, she lunged, and then they grabbed her when she kept stalking towards her husband. But Faith was moving.
I saw that. I did.
I was like,
She did lunge at her, but then I saw Kenny. Next thing I saw was Kenny was grabbing her arm so he can get the knife out of her hand. Mm-hmm. But and then like my thing is like they just, I mean, now granted everybody probably just didn't know what to do, but they just let her stand there and cry by herself until Bird came and like hugged her or whatever.
I know. I was like, dang. I mean, but could you imagine you just at a party and you getting your groove on, because they had the slow jams going at this point.
Yeah. And the red lights.
And you in there grinding, and there's some woman just come out of somewhere screaming and hollering with a knife. I mean, I'd be like,
right,
what is going on?
Right,
yes.
Like I don't. What's next? What's going on?
You don't know whether to run or like stay still, and watch. Like I don't know what's happening here.
Right.
I'm intrigued, but I'm scared at the same time.
Only you.
So then the next scene is Ahmad is at the hospital sitting with Big Mama, and she kind of comes out of her coma for a very brief second to basically tell him keep the family together again.
Or she was trying to. That's what he perceived because she started coughing.
True. Yeah. You're absolutely right. But she did say something, if you let bad things stop you, you won't be here for the good things. In that scene as well. But poor Ahmad, he was just so.
That was his girl.
Yeah,
that was his homie.
I felt bad for him as far as Big Mama's death.
Yeah.
I felt for the kids, but I really felt for him because it was like he loved her.
Yeah, that was they were partners in crime. You know, I definitely could relate to Ahmad because that's how I was with both of my grandparents, and having to witness them like he did. Like my grandmother's death, she went for her normal checkup, and because her cancer had progressed and she ended up passing out or something, they immediately admitted her and she never came back out of the hospital. Oh, wow. And so I had to see her in that hospital. She didn't remember anything. And now my grandfather was the opposite way. He ended up having hospice in the house. But it's still the same thing. It's like you the grandchild. Like you are a whole 2 generations after him.
Yeah.
Them. And so I was like, Lord, let me get my eyes together so I can watch this.
So then Big Mama dies, and they have the funeral, and things just are going to break down even further from here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the very next scene, but it is one of the soon to be next scenes. Is they're all having lunch. The girls are having lunch at some restaurant, and because Terry is like, we gonna sell the house. Like, we just gonna.
She went ahead and started the process.
Because she said Mama haven't been dead in the ground something, and this girl already got her house for sale.
So she has. Oh, but that's when they see Uncle Pete. He downstairs.
Maxine does.
Yeah, she sees Uncle Pete, and I'm assuming he believes she is Big Mama.
Cause says her name, Big Mama's real name.
So I was like, she must be the one that looks like her as well, which would also be foreshadowing to her taking on Big Mama's role, you know, as the kind of glue. But at the lunch table, you know, Maxine presents a cease and desist letter to Terry on being able to sell the house, and Terry is not with the sugar honey iced teas.
But before that, when Terry sat down, they tried to be sisterly and was like, hey, how are you doing, or whatever, and she was like giving off she didn't really want to be there, and she was like fine or okay. And then Maxine was like, okay, well, since this is how you gonna be, let me go and deliver this the way you delivered your response to us. And she then said the same response to Terry.
She was like, okay.
Yeah, Terry was like, all right. So she just got up and left. And then Bird gets sick, and this is where we also learn that she's having morning sickness and is the fish in Big Mama's dream from earlier in the movie.
Yep.
The question that I wrote down here was, what was Maxine's role in the family?
Maxine was a combination of a few things. She technically is the hero. Because she's the one that is going to fall into the glue. She leads, she organizes everything. She's, you know, she keeps everybody on track, but she's also the mediator because everybody tell her everything too.
And truth teller.
Yes.
And I was wondering if she was the nurturer too.
Yes.
She had a lot of roles.
Yeah, that was one of them. I was like, I wonder what the girls think. So then here comes all the like mishmash of Ahmad trying to get the family together for the final Sunday dinner in the movie. So he goes about telling everybody that Big Mama done hid some money in her house,
and told him.
She told me, and I'm willing to split it with you. Now, why none of these adults was like, why this little boy talking about he gonna split money with me?
But it would
she
make
left
sense.
it with him,
and he was very like specific to the person. Though.
He was.
Yeah.
I say, okay, you better know your relatives.
He did,
because he did play on all of them, all of their emotions and need.
Absolutely, he was very clever. So then everybody, you know, slowly starts showing up to Big Mama's house for Sunday dinner. The girls are in the kitchen, of course, doing this very quietly. You can kind of feel the tension at first, but then it seems like it starts to melt away a little bit. And then they're at the table. See, this is where you think the movie's about to go good and it's about to end on a nice Disney note. And no, they have one more big blow up at the table. When they start talking about, I can't remember what started the conversation though. But they were talking about problems and
it was something with Terry.
Yeah.
Probably money.
Oh, it was Lim.
Oh, he came.
Oh, yeah.
It was Lim, and she said that she got him
out of jail.
And he checked her. I said, you better check her, Lim.
Yeah. And then she was like, well, you need to be worrying about your pregnant wife.
And she spilled the beans, and Bird hadn't told him.
Yeah, and Bird was like, you need to be worrying about why he's sleeping with her.
You need to take care of your own husband.
Which then
Terry was like, is that it? I didn't take care of you?
And I wrote in my notes, I was like, this is not the right place or time.
Well, they said we gonna talk about it.
To be having these types of conversations. Like, none of this should have been happening at the table. This was not the place for this stuff to happen. But it did. So then, of course, like you said, she asking him, like, well, did I not take care of you? And then this is where he said we used to have so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could see that she heard that, like we really did. Like there was something, something was different about them that had changed over the years. And, she wasn't sure what happened. Like, how did they get to the point that they did?
Mm-hmm. And right before that, Maxine had told Ahmad and his little sister to go and get some more peas and take your little sister so they could talk about this.
Yeah, because it's grown folks' business.
Because something was said and Faith was getting ready to get up and go.
She said, I'll go.
And Maxine was like, no, you stay. We need to talk about this.
And I was still thinking, this is not the place or time.
Exactly.
And you are not the person to be involved in that conversation.
Right. Because you did it too. Because she need to have a conversation with you too.
So then maybe this is the place and the time. Yeah. Scratch everything I just said. You know what, MF this is the place and time. Because I got a bone to pick with the two of you and the two of you.
But the thing is, how else were they going to solve it? Because Terry is in power broker position always, and she thinks she, you know, doing what she doing, but in reality, they don't have nobody else to mediate. That was their mama. So somebody has to shift and adjust to get into those roles now for the rest of the family.
True.
Yeah.
So as they're about to start getting into this discussion, they smell smoke coming from.
Before that, Miles was like, I'm going to go ahead and go and tell whatever Ahmad about the money, never mind. Or whatever.
That's right.
And that's when it was like, Ahmad.
So then they called him in there, and then he started, he was very emotional. He was
it's
like,
not my fault. It's y'all fault. Y'all broke up the family.
And he was
I said,
accurate.
oh, that poor little boy was acting his behind off. Because I said, them tears, it's hard to cry on cue.
Yeah, he did so good. But what he did before he walked out into the dining room is he put a dish towel or whatever on the stove. And anybody that cook, you don't put your dish towels and things like that on your stove because you burn your kitchen up.
Which is what Big Mama
and
told
Big
him.
Mama told him that at the beginning Sunday dinner, trying to teach him, certain things, and he forgot.
So while Ahmad is in there kind of, having his moment with the family, then they smell the smoke. They go into the kitchen, and of course the stove area is blazing. And
I'm like, I Pfeiffer threw some water on it.
But it was because it had grease in it.
And I was like,
Jesus.
sir, you never use water on my kitchen fire.
No.
Salt, flour, like
cornmeal, something dry.
Yes.
not
Sugar.
You
Like,
never
come
use
on.
water.
Not water, sir.
But I said he don't cook. Him and Bird,
They don't cook.
They
Oh,
eat
that's
out
true.
a lot.
That's true.
So then Terry, the house.
Well, she can't take no more, y'all. She
Right.
is just falling apart at the seams.
Yes.
So then she goes and grabs the fire extinguishers, and they're able to get the fire out. And then as soon as the fire's kind of, put out, here comes Uncle Pete with a TV, which I thought was weird. Like, why you decide to carry a TV downstairs?
Probably was broken.
And maybe he knew the money was in there.
Maybe. I don't. Yeah, it was just weird. But
He had
anyway.
dementia. We don't know.
Yeah. They hear him come into the kitchen, turn around, spray him in the face with fire extinguisher. He drops the TV, and here goes money.
Tons of money.
Just flying everywhere. And I was like, how did this money not burn up being in the back of a TV?
Well, in the old
maybe it
TVs, they
didn't
had
work.
space. No, he used to watch it all the time. Watch
Oh,
the
no.
TV all the
I
time.
know, but I'm like, machines used to get hot. I'm like, how this money ain't burnt to a crisp?
See, I felt like it was a TV that didn't work. That's why
He just in there just talking to himself, watching a blank screen.
Or maybe he was watching it. You know how in the old
a
days,
TV on the TV.
yeah,
Ain't no telling. But either way, Uncle
broke.
Pete to the rescue, even though they got him in the eyes.
right.
Yeah.
Max
So
was like, no,
then-
they didn't mean it, Uncle Pete.
This is my surprise.
So then all the money goes. So the Big Mama really did have a stash of money.
Yes, it wasn't a myth.
No, it wasn't a myth. And then we get our Disney ending. So then, everybody starts trying to do better. Terry and Miles separate, but he still comes around every now and then to the family for the food. Terry and Maxine are trying to be cordial with one another. And had Bird had her baby yet?
No, almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was almost about to have the baby. So then we get our nice family ending.
And Faith, she was in the family still.
She was in the family still. So, you know, all's well ends well, as they say.
Work on your stuff.
Talk to your family.
Yes. And no secrets. Remember, go back and listen to session 21 about family secrets. All right, so that's it.
Deuces.
Must be this volume control.
So, okay, interns, process your notes. Be sure to catch us next session and find us on all major platforms at The Recycled Podcast.
If you're a new intern, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for listening. And remember, we are shifting and reshaping our psyche through healing conversations and connections, one discussion at a time.